Hey guys, let's test out Dina's glossy acrylic sprays on all kinds of paper. Hello my creative friends, Jessica Sanders here. Welcome to my channel. Here's that paper test I was telling you about. I have a collection of different types of paper. So I have the thick watercolor paper from Dina's White Journal. I have the 4 types of paper, 1, 2, 3, 4, or surfaces rather, from Dina's original journal. I have a piece of Collage Collective, some collage tissue paper, a black gesso piece so we can see how the spray acts on black gesso, Yupo, and I have also a little piece of paper with gel medium already on it. Now everything's dry already. We're just going to test and see how these sprays look on this paper. So I'll just spray it and then I'm going to let it dry and then I'll come back and we'll discuss it a little bit. Remember, we have to shake these and have a baby wipe ready to go so you can clean the nozzle. Okay, here we go. And I'm just going to spray them all the same color so we can get a good comparison of how this glossy acrylic sprays work on each of these paper types. Doing a little bit of heavy and a little bit of light. At least that's the goal. Look, that's happening on Yupo there. It's pushing it. All right, I think everything has some thick, and then I'll just clean my nozzle. Now I'm going to dry this or let this dry, and then I'll be back and we'll discuss it. Okay, so most of my little surfaces are dry except for the Yupo. It's still wet. I decided not to use a heat tool or anything to dry them. That way it wouldn't affect the results and I could just see how they actually act. So let me put these on this piece of paper and we can really compare them that way. I'm just going to use a glue stick. Stick these down as I go and we'll chat. I don't have Dina's denim journal yet, her blue edition journal, but I'm saving a space for that because I want to be able to look at everything all in one space so I can see what results I'll get. Now I think this kind of thing is fun and you may not want to do it yourself, so hey, that's one reason why I'm sharing it, so you can see. All right, let's chat about the results a little bit. So one thing I noticed first off is how much gloss we have. So we have a different amount of gloss depending on the surface and also how thickly we sprayed the spray. So this thick watercolor paper just really absorbs everything. It just goes, sucks it in. Thick watercolor paper, no gesso on that. Remember, the only thing that has gesso on it is my gesso papers, this one and this one, okay? So we get different effect with gesso than we do with just the raw paper. So this really soaks it up and I don't see any shine or sheen on this at all. So that is just something to know, right? No sheen or shine on this thick watercolor paper. Now I feel like if I put a second spritz or spray on here after this one was dry, then I would get that shininess. But right now, just with one layer of the sprays, it is not glossy at all because it just soaked it all up. Now on the flip side, the gesso, it's pretty glossy, pretty shiny. Trying to see if you can see that or not. Yeah, so I think you can see that sheen. And where I had the puddle, it's even more shiny. So these are just, you know, like I said, observations. This is not good or bad. It's just the way it acts on this paper type. The watercolor paper in Dina's original journal, these 4 are from Dina's original journal and her large journal. So this is the thinner watercolor paper. It also soaks it up like the thick, but I do see some sheen down here where I sprayed a heavier puddle. Also of note that I just now thought about is I sprayed blue over this, right? And I wrote on it first. So I can actually see those words that I wrote very clearly through this blue with just one layer of spray. But now this one where it's thicker, it's a little harder to see that word. So it can be opaque, but it looks like it can also be quite transparent. Because look, you can see that very clearly. Okay, so burlap here. And as expected, this is just untreated burlap, no gesso, nothing. It's going to really soak in. There is one thing I wanted to show you about the burlap, which is pretty fun and cool. On my overspray page, the tissue paper, this is where I sprayed the burlap. So because the holes in the burlap are fairly large, this goes through to whatever's behind it. So if you're working in the journal and you want to get these cool textures on the next page, well, just spray through the burlap. Or even just cut a piece out and put it on there and spray through it. But if you don't want this texture, be sure and protect the page that's behind the burlap when you're using the sprays. So I think that's pretty cool, and I actually really love that texture, and I'll be using that, I am sure. But just something to know. I'll just work my way back down this way because these 4 are, as I said, in Dina's journal. This is the craft paper, and it acts similar to the gesso because this craft paper has sort of a glossy finish, sort of I don't know what it is, but it's just not as absorbent as like the watercolor paper, and it has more of a glossy finish. Acts more like the gesso. The journal or the canvas is going to absorb it, sort of like the watercolor paper, but there's more texture showing through. Collage Collective. I love using Dina's Collage Collective. Again, you can see that with one layer of spray, you can see through it. It's transparent, and I can see the image that was below it. So, I think that is really cool. Tissue paper, it creates this crinkly effect. You can see lots of dots and little splatters there. Also on these, you can see the dots. So this is also something to know. It's not a super fine spray. It has a little bit larger dots, a dot pattern, than other types, maybe something that's an ink or something that's just a watercolor spray. So it's going to leave a pattern of dots. But I love it on Dina's collage tissue. It's really, really fun that way. So black gesso behaves much like the light gesso, and in this case I can see the black through most of it, but where I have a lot of spray, you can see that color is really showing up. So really, whether you can see through it or not, really depends on your application and how heavy of an application you put on your paper or your surface. Now the Yupo is still a little bit wet because Yupo doesn't absorb it, right? And this Yupo just really pushed this acrylic glossy spray around. So I think that's pretty cool effect and completely different from other areas. Now this is on the gel medium, and this gel medium may not have been completely dry, and so this effect may be more because the gel medium wasn't completely dry. I'm really not sure, but you can use it over the gel medium. This is not sticky at all. It looks nice and glossy, and it's a lot of fun. All right, so I'm saving a space for the denim when eventually I will get a denim journal. And I just love these sprays. They're so fun. They're so fun. And I love that they're permanent. When they're dry, they're permanent. They're not going to reactivate with water. Now, dilutions are great. They reactivate. I've used them before, and no matter how many times you layer gesso on top of them or whatever, that color just comes up to the surface, which is great for some applications, but I love the permanence of the acrylic sprays that Dina has going on here. Okay, so that's my little share of the different paper types and how they work with the acrylic sprays, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions, or if maybe I missed a type of paper or a surface we could use it on. So if I did, leave that in the comments below. I'll try and respond to you. And thanks so much. You have a fantastic, creative, wonderful day.